and welcome everybody to the Bangers and Classics podcast. And that's with me, James Rupper, and him, David Malloy. David, what's occurring at your end?
Well, I suppose we should really tell the listeners how we got out of last week's conundrum. Obviously, things didn't go well at the end of the podcast.
No.
And, well, we were taken by a coven of witches back to the lair. All worked out well in the end. I wasn't allowed in because there's a dress code, so I was thrown out. So that was me saved.
Right.
And a gaggle of Hammer horror actresses came and rescued you.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's it. So perfectly safe. And we're now back here doing the podcast. But obviously Halloween's past. Sadly, it's a good time of year. Of course, sad as we are that Halloween's past, we've got Guy Fawkes Night to look forward to now. Some people will say it's called Bonfire Night. Absolute rubbish. When I was a kid, it was always Guy Fawkes Night, and I shall see anyone who says otherwise in the car park with the traditional weapon, which is a gutty with a nail in it.
Right. the Flintstones would use.
No. It's a friend of mine came up with this idea that the best way to deal with bad people is give them a whack with a gutty with a nail in it. Now, a gutty, as I've explained before in the pod, in case you've not heard it, it's basically a plimsoll. Probably a gutty comes from gutta percha, which they would have been made from, I suppose. It's a figure of speech, of course. We wouldn't really use a gutty with a nail in it. Well, not in most people. Anyway, James, it's Guy Fawkes Night coming up. It's Guy Fawkes Night tonight, because by the time this goes out, it will be. And amazing. I thought we'd have a look at a couple of things to do with fire. I mean, came up with three. Reno Fuego.
Right, yes. I suppose that might be
Spanish.
Exceptional.
Well, the turbo version was pretty hot, wasn't it?
It was, absolutely.
And there was, I believe, a very quick turbo diesel version, which also was very hot for the day.
Oh, right.
Sales were a bit cooler. I am told only about 265,000 were made. Made in Europe between 80 and 86, and I believe 82 and 92 in South America. There was a convertible version too, or there would have been. There was a prototype by Hulier, but never saw production.
No.
So, yeah, the name's hot. Unfortunately, sales figures, well, not so much. Second thing is, James.
Yeah.
Fire engine. Fiat's fire engine.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, fully integrated robotised engine. Still being made today. It's a family of engines. Comes from the 1980s.
Yeah.
I was really interested to find out that these were made in Dundee at one point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dundee, Michigan. No, I didn't realise that bit. I thought, oh, bloody hell. I thought, I'd never heard of them being made in Dundee, and that's probably why, because there's only a small matter of an ocean apart. And, of course, other thing I thought of was the Fireball combustion chamber.
Right.
By, I believe, Michael May, which was introduced in the Jaguar V12 models in 1981.
Yeah.
Don't know much about it, but I just thought I'd mention it anyway.
Yeah, I think it was a thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was the V12 HE, which I think stood for high efficiency engine.
Yeah.
Which you got on the XJS. I certainly know that much.
Yeah.
And a big thing was made of them at the time.
No, that's right. Absolutely. So, yeah, I've got no fire contributions to make whatsoever, David, really. The only ones I've got, actually, and I know you're probably going to mention this at some point, is Astra. But there was actually a very obscure small car firm called Astra, which existed in the very late 50s, apparently 56 to 59 in Hampton Hill in Middlesex, and they made a van, would you believe? It was called the Utility. There was an Astra Utility powered by an Anzani motorcycle engine. So there you go. And amazing, really. Did 55 miles an hour. There is no idea as to how many were made. Obviously, it's an unbelievably ugly thing, which you probably should set alight if you ever saw one, because it is terrifyingly ugly. I should have sent you a picture, but you presumably can find it on the web some way. But yeah, an Astra Utility.
I'm not worried about terrifyingly ugly because I've seen some of the recent BMW designs. Oh,
right, yeah.
So it's kind of inured me to all of that now. No, it's kind of prepared me for these horrible cars that you're going to keep foisting on me. No. But yeah, when you're talking about Astra, well, I thought Guy Fawkes Night again, firework companies. Yeah. Are there any links with cars? Well, I thought of a few. Obviously, Astra fireworks were a big thing.
Yeah.
I believe there was a scandal involved with the company that made them at some point in the 80s, political scandal, I believe. But obviously with the Vauxhall Astra.
Mm.
After
Yeah.
when I was a kid, Astra were my favourite fireworks. There
Yeah.
we go. And this is in spite of the fact that another brand of fireworks, Brock's, were made about maybe 30 miles from my home, maybe 35 miles away.
All right.
Some of the old factories still there, the old buildings. And of
Yeah.
course, we're thinking of Brock's. Well, Peter Brock, the late great
Mm.
Australian driver, and he sparkled, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Sparkled and fizzled in a racing car.
Mm.
Unfortunately, passed away in I believe, an accident quite a few years ago now. But he certainly made his mark. Standard, James, they made
Mm.
fireworks too.
They did, yes.
Yeah. Think of any standard cars?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's the Standard was a very interesting maker of quite ordinary cars, which became sort of Standard Triumph by the end. But yeah, the little tiny ones were sort of okay. Standard
Yeah.
tens and stuff like that. There was a lot of those about.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, Standard took over Triumph
mm,
after World War II. Well, took over what was left of Triumph because there
they
wasn't
did.
much left
Yeah,
at all after World War II, and ended up, I think, part of British Leyland in the end.
yeah, they did absolutely. But yeah, something like a Standard Vanguard, which, according to very old car salesmen who I interviewed a while back, they were the worst cars ever made. So yeah, if you had a Standard Vanguard, especially a Phase One, which was a pretty terrifyingly awful car. Um, but yeah, you don't see many of those, and they look quite interesting now.
Mm.
They're sort of, but yeah, they sort of stumbled into the very early '60s, and that was it really.
One more fireworks company for you, Paines. Paines were once a
Mm,
big firm. So
yeah.
what would be a pain? Oh, it's the MX-5. It's a pain in the
All
posterior.
right.
Or the blurb it was given, maybe not so much the car, but the height.
Yeah.
You know, it's a Lotus. No, it's a blooming MGB for the 90s or whatever. That's what it was. Right. So to me, it's a pain. So that's what I'm labeling there. It can be thankful that's the only fate it's getting because I had a worse one planned out for it in this podcast.
Oh right.
Oh,
That's
yes.
terrible. Okay, there was
Yes.
actually the Lightning rocket, wasn't there? The Lightning car company made the rocket, so that was a rocket named rocket car.
Oh,
But
well,
I
this
don't
is
think I've
true.
ever seen one in my life. But yeah, it's a
Yeah.
four-wheel motorbike, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, yes, it's true. There's also plenty of bangers. Nissan Micra from the late 80s, early 90s. Absolute
Oh
banger.
right. Mm,
Not to be confused with the Noddy car version that I mentioned before.
yeah.
But yeah, if you want a Roman candle,
Yeah.
I've got one for you. It's a Lotus Turbo Esprit, the Essex edition, the very first one, with the
Oh
Essex
right.
colours of Essex Petroleum.
Yeah.
A stunning looking car then and now, and of course drove very well with its 2.2 litre turbocharged engine, and Lotus's suspension and chassis magic woven
Yeah.
into it. Unfortunately, too blooming small for me, even if I could afford one, which I can't. So,
Yeah.
but if you can fit in one in the Ford one, well, there's your Roman candle.
Mm, that's fair enough. I thought a Roman candle might be like a Alpha Arna, really, that we should set alight.
No,
because...
no.
No.
No,
Oh, okay.
no. Roman candle's a good thing, James. A good thing.
Oh,
It's
is it? Oh, okay.
full of zest and fire and spirit. Yeah. Since we've had a Roman candle, we've had a banger. We'll come back to this actually. What cars would you put on the bonfire? What cars would you put on the bonfire with the guy?
Mm.
But first of all, let's talk about something that's coming up. It's an annual event that we're both very interested in.
Oh yes.
Yes, it's the High K Car of the Year 2022 competition run by a good chum Kenny Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
always look forward to that.
yeah,
Always know when there's not many days to Christmas. Then is there?
yeah,
There's only a
yeah,
few shopping days left.
absolutely. I think it's due to begin on about the 18th of November
Yeah.
from memory. And if you look at the Twitter page, the address is, or the identifier is at High Kenny S.
Mm.
All one word. And yeah, it's always good fun. Always gets a good response. And I believe he was still getting votes from up till recently from last year's competition.
Well, quite right too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year, the very clear winner, which was an Alfa Romeo 6, which of course deserved to win because,
That's
well,
right.
it's got the earliest version of the Busso engine. So yeah, that's a clear winner. This year, I wonder what he's got for us and what will win.
I have no idea. I think he gets a very good
No.
response because of all those huge cash prizes he offers, David. I think.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
is that? I didn't know anything about that, James. First I've heard of it. Yes.
I don't know. Just a rumor.
I think you've been drinking the sweet sherry again, old
Have
boy.
I? Oh, okay.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But yes, but watch out for that. It's great fun. He does it
It
every year.
is. Yeah.
Please support it. The
Yeah.
rules are very simple. Kenny will explain them. Take part in it and have some fun.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at something else. We're talking about cars for the bonfire. We'll leave that till last, I think. Supposing that our time machine malfunctioned and it put Guy Fawkes in the 1980s and left us here, what 1980s car would we send to Guy using the time machine in the 1980s to make his getaway? Not after everything blowing up anything, but just because he finds himself in the 1980s and thinks, oh dear God, what am I doing here? So, what kind of car would you get for Guy to make his escape in the 1980s, James?
Well, I rather liked. I found a 1985 Opel Monza GSE Auto. Actually,
Classy.
yeah, I thought that was really nice. There's lots of room for him to get all his bits and bobs, but it's quite stylish. And it's something that he could probably form an alternative government with, I would have thought, with the hatch open at the back.
Oh, well, see, I've only got to work. Does it have a sunroof?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of his hat. How does he get? He'll have to take his hat off otherwise.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of room in those, actually. I had a few as part exchanges in the 80s, which I should have kept. And they were really big. It was like a massive saloon car, but 2 doors. And they were lovely things. I did like those.
Yeah, very stylish cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them too, James.
Yeah, that's right. And it's 10 grand, which is not an outrageous amount to spend when you hear what silly figures people are paying for daft cars these days. So there you
go. Well, there you go. Buy an Opel and enjoy its fruits.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I didn't come up with anything quite so fancy. I thought I wanted something that he would be unobtrusive. I mean, obviously, he's running around dressed in 17th century clothing with a very big hat on, but he's going to have to take off to get into my car. I don't think he's got a sunroof.
All right.
I'll just check. Have you got a sunroof? I'll ask it. There's no pictures that would tell me. Well, I don't think it has. I'm going to assume that it hasn't. Well, I've gone for a 1989 Ford Escort Mark IV with a 1117cc engine.
Yeah.
It's for sale just now. It's on Car and Classic. It's blue. It's very 80s. It's 80s-tastic with wheel trims. One thing I did notice, it's generally in very good condition, 64,500 miles. The proverbial one-lady owner.
Right.
Said to have a full MOT. Paintwork looks good. Boot looks good. Interior looks good, but I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with the driver's seat. I think someone's put a pad on the actual seat squab. That's probably what it is, because it's a different colour, but I don't think it's. I thought at first it maybe a different seat. It's very good. There's a couple of little bits of bright work, I think, possibly missing from the rubbing strips on the side, but that seems to be about it. £5,200. I think we could afford that and send that to Guy.
Yeah, well, okay.
He'll blend in well with 1980s traffic.
Oh, okay.
And of course, if we just go, if we could send it back and get him to 1981, people just think he's a new romantic in that get up.
Yeah, that's true.
He's going to make his escape. There you go. We've solved the problem.
Good.
As ever, bangers and classics. The podcast that not only creates problems but also solves them badly. So we to wrap up this fairly short podcast this week, talking about cars we're going to chuck on the bonfire. Any car you like, James, just whatever you think should go on the bonfire.
Right. I'm looking at pictures of standards actually in a real book. I think all the standards can go. There's tons of those. Yeah, I don't like any of those at all. Standard Enzyme, that can go. Yeah, it's awful looking cars actually. I find it very difficult to get rid of cars because I can always find a place for them. But yeah, as I'm looking at weird things, there's something called a scooter car, which is obviously one of those terrible 3-wheelers. What was I don't know what the origins of that was, but they're made in Leeds actually. Yeah, scooter cars were made in Leeds, but I mean it's just an awful looking thing. It's not as resolved as well as a bubble car from Germany, so that's pretty awful. There's something Russon. There was another company, I'm looking at really small, terrible small companies. This was in Bedfordshire, and they made what they called a mini car, and that predates the Mini, and it's got terribly small wheels, so it's a very, very ugly thing, and we can get rid of that. They only made 15 of them, really, which is quite surprising. But if there's any left, those can go on the bonfire. So yeah, I'm finding lots of stuff. Rodley, there we go. There's another company called Rodley, and that was like a that had a motorcycle engine. So yeah, I'm really going for it here. Yeah, a little square thing. You get two people in it, but quite what the point of it was, I don't really know. And yeah, the production not available. They called it a four-seater convertible. But yeah, a dreadful, dreadful thing. You should probably look up online. I'm sure you can find it there. But I'm finding all mine in books. But I'm always intrigued to see, apart from the MX-5, what you'd throw on the bonfire, David.
Well, I didn't thought on this week, did I?
Didn't you? Oh,
I thought about it.
You thought about it? Oh.
I mean, you were picking all the little guys.
I am.
That's
Yeah.
shocking.
It is, yeah.
Well, I'm going to be controversial, but I'll start with an uncontroversial one. The first generation Rover 200 series, the 213, 216, the ones that were basically a Honda Ballade.
Hondas, yeah.
Yeah, chuck them in the bonfire. I have written about them on my website. I had a couple as company cars. Bloody awful things. Right. Nearly killed me. I kid you not about that. One of them got rammed twice at junctions. Somebody reversed into it, and then a van ploughed into another junction. I was, meantime, sitting motionless, minding my own business. After it hit front and back, it did fit into a smaller parking space, so that was always something. But yeah, it's got to go. It's Hyatt and Spooky will probably be on the phone to complain, but too bad. And the one that's going to upset people is the Golf GTI.
All right.
It's going to bonfire.
Is it?
I actually saw a 1983 one on Monday in a place called Largs, which is on the west coast. And I've forgotten just how Spartan these things were back in the day. This one was very original, very original indeed.
Very focused vehicles they were, don't they?
No, they were just Spartan. They were just being tight-fisted persons that were selling them. Not the buyers. You had to. But I thought they were pretty Spartan. Didn't ride well. Quite a rocky ride. But the trouble is, they were beloved of yuppies. And that's the only reason. It's not the actual car. I can understand if you like the Golf GTI. I don't really have a problem with that. And why should I? Nothing to do with me. But yuppies. No. So just for the association with yuppies, since I can't throw them in the bonfire because I'm not allowed to, the Golf has to go instead. Sorry about that, people. But, rules are rules. And then I thought, why don't we chuck a Ferrari on it as well? I'm torn between going for one of the more recent Ferraris because they're really made for Premier League footballers. But I thought maybe the 348. 348 took a beautiful car, which was the 308 328 series. They gave it some styling along the lines of the Testarossa 512 TR and made it handle really poorly. Not a great success. I'm sure maybe the people at Ferrari regret it as well. So whilst I really love the 308, 328, and indeed very fond of the 355 as well, obviously from a distance, 348 doesn't do it for me. So I'm going to save Ferrari's brushes. It's going in the bonfire.
Right.
There's other cars too. Vauxhall Nova. I passed my driving test on one. Drove one, a very low mileage one, a few years ago for a magazine. I actually liked it. I hated it when I drove it for the driving test, but I actually liked it. The trouble is that so many of them became cars driven by yobs, which 600 weight of stereo equipment in them, etc., and exhaust the size of the Channel Tunnel on them became nuisances. So again, it's not really the car, it's more the people that drove them, so the car has to go. So I think that'll do me. I mean, I'm sure I could think of lots more, but maybe I should be charitable.
Rather than just wrong.
I'm never wrong, James. You should
never wrong. Oh, okay.
Never wrong. No.
Okay.
I'll debate it with anybody, and I'll just wear them down. I'll just wear them down, confuse them, and bring it. If desperation strikes, we'll bring it the gutty with a nail in it. So
okay,
can't lose. So, any more from you? Or is that it?
No, I've just got more small, tiny British cars that are terrible, and so I don't want to. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll burn these. Terrible.
I'll give you another one. Yeah. First generation Seat Arosa.
Right. Yeah, that was okay actually. Yeah.
No, I had one as a hire car on holiday. Yeah. It was bad. Some Seats are pretty good. That one, yeah. So again, I'm just doing them a favour by airbrushing it. out of living memory. And that's all we're doing. We're just brushing these things out of memory by putting them alongside the guy. So, having destroyed a few cars and got a few more people irate at us,
oh yes,
I think we have a small announcement to make, don't we?
Do we? Oh right.
I think we do. This is, at least for just now, the final bangers and classics. I think our work's done. We've offended various owners' clubs. You've chased after numerous Hammer horror actresses, and we've even returned the Count's dishwasher to him.
Goodness me.
I know. Basically, we've had so many death threats. No, actually, we haven't. No, we've done 86 episodes of it and various bits and bobs over the piece, and it's probably time for us to put it in the back burner for a bit and do something else. I think that's probably a fair way of putting it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's right.
Yeah, because we enjoy doing it.
We do.
It does take up, believe it or not, although we don't prepare for it to any great degree, as you might have noticed, it does take up quite a lot of time.
Yeah.
And it's got to a point where something has to give, and unfortunately, it's the podcast. At least for the moment. We're not saying we're going away for good or bad. We might come back at some point. We might revisit the format. We might come back on some other basis. So we don't know. We'll keep the Twitter page open. So if you want to talk to us and shout abuse at us and tell us we're wrong about everything, you can do that there, and we'll block you. I mean, we'll respond to you.
Yeah.
I think that's it, James, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough for the time being. But yeah, there's a lot of other projects to do. There's a lot of other things that need to be said and done.
Yes, absolutely. So I think for the final time, I'm going to say it's good night from me.
Yeah, and it's certainly a good night from him as well.
Good night. Take care.
Yeah, we'll bump into you sometime.
Oh, well, James, thank God that's over, eh?
Yeah, it's dreadful, isn't it? Yeah, the worst 18 months of my life, I think that was.
Yeah. I think the audience would agree with us. See you down the job centre, mate. Okay, take care.
Yeah, absolutely.